Hello, everyone. Welcome to Saturday's edition of Weekend Waypoints, a production of SEC Extra at D1Baseball.com. Here to recap Friday's games around the SEC. Spoiler alert, a lot of blowouts. Good news for the SEC, though. That's what you're looking to do, in this fourth weekend of the season is take care of business, drama-free, move on, and then start prepping for SEC opening weekend. So we'll talk about that. We will also take a brief look ahead at Saturday's games on the docket. But first, I have to remind you that this episode of Weekend Waypoints and every episode of Weekend Waypoints is brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Get ready for a new season of fishing fun with Academy Sports and Outdoors and reel in the best gear at low prices every day. Plus, Academy offers easy ways to shop and save time, like free 1-hour in-store or curbside pickup on academy.com orders. Thanks, as always, to our friends at Academy Sports and Outdoors. Excited to have them on board with Weekend Waypoints, Highway to Hoover, the D1 Baseball podcast, and some other things along the way. They've really gone all in with us at D1 Baseball, and that's really cool. All right, folks, like I said, a lot of blowouts of Friday around the SEC, which, is good news, like I mentioned, but doesn't always make for the most compelling games or content afterwards. But let's jump right into it. Let's talk game of the day. The pickings might have been slim, but I did find interesting as I share my screen here, Ole Miss and Jacksonville State. Ole Miss 7, Jacksonville State 4. Talked about the possibility this game might be competitive on Friday's edition of the show. It ended up being really the most competitive among the series that we, were kind of trying to figure out what would be compelling. As you can see, the line score there, Jacksonville State took a 4-2 lead. The sixth inning, though, is where things really changed for Ole Miss, and it was the long ball that got it done. Austin Foley with a home run, Will Furness with the big home run that got things tied, and then Hayden Federico, the freshman, 2-run home run to give them the lead. And then you see the insurance with Luke Chang there, but a fantastic job in the sixth inning for Ole Miss to battle back. Mason Morris was awesome. Hunter Elliott, his roughest start of the season, since getting back to full strength. That's going to happen. But then Mason Morris was excellent in relief there with 4 2/3 shutout innings, just gave up one hit along the way. He really settled the game down, set up Ole Miss for success to come back in the way they did. So impressive stuff there. On top of kind of the back and forth nature of this game, there was a little bit of spice in this game. There was some contentious stuff with hit by pitches with Luke Chang. One time he got called for, leaning in or what have you on a hit by pitch, and then he got hit by a pitch again later, and they reviewed it for that again. So there was just a little bit of spice in this game, which is what you're looking for. That's always fun. But Ole Miss able to take control of it and win it 7-4. In the end, kudos to the Rebels for that come from behind victory. All right, we got some comments waiting. Let me scroll over there. Inside LSU Baseball, Jason Armstrong. I was going to scout Mizzou before next weekend, but why bother, Joe? Yeah, tough. Look, I mean, there's actually an argument to be made. Like the best game in the SEC in terms of like entertainment value and close calls was actually Binghamton 8, Mizzou 7. But it just felt like that would be, honestly, this is not a joke. Like it just felt like it would be like rubbing it in to really highlight Mizzou losing to Binghamton in extra innings. Tough. Like I think we all understand the uphill battle that Mizzou is fighting in the SEC, but that should still mean you're beating Binghamton, right? And they just didn't. We'll see the rest of the weekend, but disappointing loss for Mizzou on a Friday. They got some good stuff in that game. Xavier Lovett, really good relief work. Maybe he's a rotation candidate at some point for them, but that's a game that, even the 16th place team in the SEC should be beating Binghamton, and most of the time beating them pretty handily. Josh Catlett says the Auburn freshmen have been getting all the love, but Derek Fabian deserves a lot of it too. Agreed. Yeah, we'll he's on my list today to I believe he is anyway. Let me look at he's on my list today of guys, potential hitter of the day candidates. He was 3-4 home run, 3 runs batted in. And he's again, another part of the Auburn lineup that's been so impressive. I did radio a couple days this week where I got asked more or less, who's a SEC team that we're not really talking about among the elite that you think, has been impressive or could get into that mix or whatever. And I've been telling people Auburn, because there are still some things to sort out on the mound, but the offense has been above and beyond. And so even if some of those guys cool off, inevitably they will, right? It's SEC play. Some guys will cool off, but they've shown me the ceiling of that lineup is so high that I'm going to assume, because every year except for last year, Auburn has figured out the mound. I'm going to assume they're going to figure it out because the talent there is so good. So yeah, I'm with you, Josh. Like, Derek Fabian has been, him taking a step forward and kind of being, at least for the first 4 weekends, the guy that he was thought he could be at Florida, right? And just never was. And then last year coming into Auburn, I was pretty high on, this is a guy who is going to make a jump, and then it just didn't happen. So to see him succeed like this is a cool story. Speaking of hitter of the day, let's talk hitter of the day candidates. Lots of them today, because there were a lot of high run totals around the SEC yesterday. Rylan Zaborowski, who's been really good for Georgia. He's 3 for 4, 2 home runs, a walk, and 7 runs batted in the team's win versus Columbia. Columbia got off to I think it was a 3-0 lead, 3-1 lead. Maybe it was both at various points. But Georgia controlled that game after a certain point and ran away with it. Cole Hage for Kentucky. We talked about him on Friday's show and how excellent he's been, and that continued. He was hitting like almost 500, and his average went up because he went 2 for 2 with a home run, a walk, a hit by pitch, 3 runs batted in, 3 runs scored in Kentucky's run rule win over Wofford, which was extremely impressive. Wofford's a team that has regional aspirations, and those are reasonable regional aspirations. And Kentucky just took that game by the horns, and it was never really in doubt. And just really impressive work for Kentucky, a team that, as I mentioned yesterday, I just need to lock into and try to learn more about, because the record is impressive. They've been winning games in impressive fashion. But we don't know how good some of the competition has been. Belmont, Lipscomb, teams like that. And also just the SEC is a different animal. So we'll have to see, but man, they've been impressive. Brody Johnston, the Vanderbilt freshman, missed some games early, but now that he's been back, he's been swinging the bat. That's all he's done. He did it last summer. He did it in the fall. He did it in the preseason. And now during the season, 2 for 5, 2 home runs, and 6 runs batted in Vanderbilt's win over Xavier. I think it was 15-3 was the final score there. It was close until it wasn't. It was 3-3, a few innings into it, and you thought, okay, here we go. Like, Xavier is ready to scrap, and then Vanderbilt just ran away with it. So kudos to the Commodores there. Andrew Fisher, Tennessee could have a bunch of candidates here, but I just thought Andrew Fisher's line was kind of funny because it's just one official at bat, but that one at bat was a home run. I believe I saw it's 4 straight games with a home run for Andrew Fisher, but he also walked 3 times in Tennessee's win over St. Bonaventure. And yes, we will talk about the no-hitter. Give it time. Let us get to the pitchers. But yeah, big win over a blowout win over St. Bonaventure. They played all 9 in that one by choice. So there you go. Brody Donay in a win against Harvard for Florida, 2 for 4 with a double and a triple. I did not see it live, but for Brody Donay to get a triple, that ball must have been deep in the corner, or someone fell down, perhaps. Not a guy you really anticipate legging out a bunch of triples, but there you go. Hunter Hines in a win against Queens, and that's Queens in Charlotte, the Charlotte area, by the way. That's not Queens, New York. Hunter Hines went 3 for 4 with a double, a home run, a walk, and 3 runs batted in. Pretty routine win there for Mississippi State. Gavin Cash at Texas A&M, off to a slow start early this season, but perhaps coming alive a little bit. They beat the brakes off of New Mexico State. Gavin Cash went 3 for 5 with 2 doubles, a home run, and 5 runs batted in. Kennedy Jones for South Carolina, another guy who's been a little nicked up early this season. In their win against Moorhead, where they were down 4-0 and battled back to win that one. It was a little bit closer than maybe South Carolina would have liked. Kennedy Jones, 3 for 4 with 2 doubles and a walk. Justin LeBron for Alabama. How many times has he been on this list? I think basically every day. His team, the Crimson Tide, beat Presbyterian. I believe that was 10-0 or something along those lines. 3 for 5 with a double and 3 runs batted in. Tanner Reeves of LSU. Welcome to the party, Tanner Reeves. I think first time his name has been mentioned on Weekend Waypoints this season. He was 3 for 3 with a double, a home run, and 3 runs batted in LSU's blowout win over North Alabama. We talked about Derek Fabian. Peyton Basler in the loss to Binghamton. Shout out to him, 3 for 4 with a double. Arkansas had a number of candidates. Another blowout victory there over Portland. Vahiva Aloy, 3 for 3, 2 home runs, 4 runs batted in, 5 runs scored for him. Kuhio Aloy, 2 for 4 with a double, 3 RBIs, and 3 runs scored. But the hitter of the day is Brent Iredale of Arkansas. He went 3 for 4 with a double, 2 home runs, and 8 runs batted in. Big offensive day for Arkansas. That's it's easy to kind of say like, well, Arkansas fans wanted offense, and there it is. Like, I get that it's just Portland, but it does show when they start putting it on a team, like it can snowball. The offense is good enough to really snowball a team. So hitter of the day there is Brent Iredale. Let's get over to some comments here. Go Vols from Expo. Good to see Expo. Josh Willie says, breaking news, Iredale has been adopted by the Aloy family. He's now Brent Aloy, basically, because those 3 guys are really swung it well, and the Aloy brothers, as we've talked about before on the show, have really been carrying a heavy load for the Razorbacks this season. All right, let's move on to pitcher of the day. We've got a lot to cover here as well, because blowouts tend to have 2 sides of them. You score a bunch of runs and you don't allow very many. So there you go. Nick McKay for Kentucky in the win over Wofford. 6 innings pitched, no earned runs allowed. He walked 4 in 6 innings, and maybe you want to clean that up, but he's been excellent. I think there's a lot of optimism about him in the Friday spot. It's not a traditional SEC Friday guy, but neither was Trey Poozer last year, and he ended up being a Friday guy all the way to Omaha. And Nick McKay might honestly be a cut above Poozer. It's just the injuries that have been troublesome for Nick McKay throughout his career, but he's non-traditional in that, he's a 7th-year senior. It's a lot of injuries, but when he's been healthy at South Dakota State, he's been good. And so good on him for kind of getting his moment in the SEC in this way. J.D. Thompson for Vanderbilt, 6 innings pitched, 3 runs, 1 walk, 10 strikeouts. That one was impressive because the runs came early and he just buckled down and got it done and helped his team to victory there. Liam Peterson, it was a big pitching day for Liam's. We'll obviously talk about Tennessee here in a minute. But Liam Peterson, 5 shutout innings with 11 strikeouts. Ryan Prager, 7-inning complete game, shutout, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts. Zane Adams, best start of the year for Zane Adams. He's been fine the first 3 weeks of the season. Nothing totally alarming, but he hadn't had an outing like this yet, but he does have one here. 6 shutout, no walks, 10 strikeouts for Zane Adams in the win over Presbyterian. Cade Anderson of LSU, 6 innings pitched, 1 run allowed, 11 strikeouts. Mason Morris in relief for Ole Miss. We talked about that. Excellent outing in relief, 4 2/3 scoreless there. Kyson Witherspoon, who's been on this list all 4 Saturdays so far because he's been awesome this season. No earned runs allowed in 5 innings. He struck out 12. So 12 of the 15 outs recorded via strikeout. Jared Spencer of Texas in a win against Santa Clara, 5 innings pitched, or 5 shutout innings, 8 strikeouts there for Jared Spencer. I had to check actually quickly because I never saw the final score of that Texas game, and I just had a brief moment of panic of like, oh boy, what if Santa Clara came back and won that game? They did not. 4-2. So just had to check real quick. But the pitchers of the day, it is plural, are the Tennessee pitching staff that no hit St. Bonaventure. And yes, it's St. Bonaventure, but if you're holding a team hitless for 9 innings, any Division I team, you're doing something. So Liam Doyle, Tanner Franklin, those are kind of the usual Friday arms we see. And Liam Doyle was awesome again, strikeout total through the roof. But then Brandon Arvidsson got in the mix. He's been used a lot too, but it's just, Doyle and Franklin have been carrying the load on Fridays, but Arvidsson got in on this one. And then Braden May and Michael Sharman, the last 2 guys to throw. And that's impressive because those are guys that aren't really in the mix, so, you want to get them work in a blowout win, but there's pressure involved with coming in and trying to finish off a no-hitter, that's not easy. So kudos to those guys for coming in and getting the job done there. Would have been easy to kind of fold, or, to give up a little single here or there. And, it's still a blowout win and nobody really thinks much of it. But to be able to finish off the no-hitter for those guys that don't have that experience was pretty cool. So Tennessee pitching staff, a no-hitter, and maybe not the last one of the year. They've been so good that, in the SEC, that would be really impressive. But I just mean like in a random midweek, like it wouldn't shock me if Tennessee has another one, just given how good they've pitched it so far this season. All right, flipping over to comments. John Bro says, good morning, Joe. Ready to get SEC play going. Go Tigers. As am I. Should be a lot of fun. Looking forward to talking actual SEC games at this time next week. That'll be a lot of fun. Moonshine says, hit the like button. Yeah, please do. If you're watching here, I appreciate that call out, Moonshine. Let's get you ready for Saturday. Take your pick. What is the game of the day? Because I anticipate a lot more of the same, and in some cases, perhaps even worse, just because, the pitching gets thinner as the weekend goes on. But I am fascinated again by Kentucky and Wofford, a series we talked about before. It's not just that Wofford is good. It's not just that I'm kind of intrigued to see more of Kentucky, but Ben Cleaver's on the mound, and he's been awesome. Sophomore lefty, the Slim Reaper, as they call him. He's been awesome. And I think Wofford's a specific challenge. It's a good hitting lineup. It's also a lineup that runs a bunch. How does he hold runners? Obviously, as a lefty, there's that advantage of, he's looking at the runner in the stretch. But how does he deal with that? I think that'll be interesting to see. So I am looking forward to checking in on that game here today on Saturday. Hoping for some more closer games, just for entertainment value, right? I know if you're watching this, you're hoping your team is not in a close game. But as a neutral observer, a couple close games might not be so bad. So we'll see what we end up with by the end of the day. All right, enjoy the Saturday of baseball, everybody. I'll be back tomorrow morning to recap Saturday's action and get you ready for the finales. Thank you to Academy Sports and Outdoors for sponsoring this and every Weekend Waypoints. I'll talk to y'all tomorrow morning.